What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first official episode of Cops, Criminals, and Commandos. My name is Z. I'll be your host, and I'm the only one here. A little bit about myself. I'm super funny. At least that's what my mom tells me. Actually, she's like the only person that's ever told me that, so I'm funny because mama's always right. I have a history in law enforcement, about a decade's worth. I started when I was 16. I did ride-alongs and stuff with the law enforcement agency where I grew up at. I had a mentor. Not going to say his name on here right now until I can talk to him and make sure it's okay. But he paved a big way for me to get into law enforcement, and I owe everything I've ever did to him. He was a great person, great role model to me, and helped me get into it, and caused me to become a even better police officer. And when I turned 18, I started in dispatch. I was a dispatcher jailer, and I did that for a while, and then I moved to a bigger city to go into college with the goal to become a police officer. And believe it or not, whenever I was 21, I had one semester of college, and I decided to start applying for police agencies and to see if I could get one. And I was told by a bunch of people, I was like, well, you're not going to get hired in your first 8 to 10 departments when you apply, because they just reject you. It's really hard to get on law enforcement agencies. And so I started to do it just to get, experience in the interview field. And wouldn't you know it, 2 of the 4 or 5 I was applying for offered me a job. It was mainly because I'm bilingual in Spanish and English. So yeah, they offered me a job because they needed a translator. So I was a translator for most of the departments I work for and most of everything that I've done. So I was a commodity in that way. So if you can learn another language, do it. It's usually more valuable over a degree. I have been hired over people with a degree before. But this podcast is not going to be about me. So I want to make that clear. It's not going to be about me. I know a lot of people, a lot of officers, military personnel that are a lot more qualified and more interesting than I am. But I did become a police officer when I was 21. I did it for the majority of my 20s, and I dipped into my 30s. And then for personal reasons, I had to get out. I had to focus on my family. I was became a single dad there for a little while, raising 2 girls, and they demanded my attention, and I gave it to them. So, but I did have a good career. I enjoyed it. I still have a lot of friends that are doing it, and a lot of interesting people still doing it. So I'm going to go over the mission of the podcast with you. My mission for this podcast is I want to show you, the viewer, what these cops are like when they're not behind the badge. I want to show you what the person is, because what you see normally is this hardened type person that you think they're made of steel, but they're people. They're all people just like me and you. And I want to show you the other side to them, because every single one of them has their own personality, and they're great, and they're just like you. They're just like you, except they're doing a really, really, really demanding job, physically, mentally, everything like that. Not to say you're not, because trust me, I'm in a job now that is stressful and all that stuff. So I want to show you the other side to them. So I'm gonna go over the structure of the podcast with you. The structure of the podcast is going to be what we're going to do is the first segment I want to do is a story time. Okay. I want submissions from I want submissions from police officers, criminals, or military personnel. I want it to be a funny story, or either a funny story or a heroic story. I want it to be a positive story. That way, we can keep it positive and stuff like that. I don't want stories from current criminals. I want reformed criminals, because I am going to be having reformed criminals on the podcast. I think reformed criminals are very interesting, and it's fun to hear people how they got out of the woods, I guess you can say. I've met a lot of criminals in my time with law enforcement, and I've met a lot of interesting guys that were criminals and they came out of it. Some of the best people are reformed criminals, and it's a lot of fun talking to them and hear how they pulled themselves out of that. So I want a story either from a reformed criminal, a cop, or a military person, and I want it to be a funny story mainly. That's what I kind of want. I like funny stories. We all have funny stories. I have a bunch of funny stories. I'm going to tell you about them. But it could also be a heroic, good story, stuff like that. And then we're going to have justified, not justified scenarios. We're going to be talking about dash cam, video cam, stuff like that of police officers, military, all that stuff. We're going to discuss whether from an ex-police officer's point of view, and whether I believe it's justified, the situation, or not, from my experience and training, whether these scenarios are justified, or we're just going to be breaking down scenarios, current scenarios that are happening in the law enforcement realm, and we're going to talk about them. That's basically what we're going to do. And then I want to highlight a good deed that one of our law officers done, and that could be submitted to me too. So my email is going to be znation111@gmail.com. That's ZEE111, the number 111, at gmail.com. So znation111@gmail.com, if I'm not saying that right. And bear with me with the mic, with the P's and stuff like that. You can hear it popping. I haven't got my mic covers in yet, but I'm going to get them in, and maybe the P will go away. If not, deal with it, son. But anyway, we're going to highlight a good deed done by our military or law enforcement officer. And also reformed criminals can be in there as well. You reformed criminals out there that have gotten your shit together and you decided to do a good deed. And we're going to highlight that because I want to show you the good things that these law enforcement officers are doing out there, because there's a lot of good cops. I know we get a bad cop every now and then, and we're going to talk about them too. But every week I want to talk about a good deed that a law enforcement officer is doing, and we're gonna highlight that for you guys. So the last week of every month, I'm going to be interviewing you, either a cop, past or present, a military, either a veteran or a current military officer. Not an officer, it could be any military person. We're going to be from every job field in the military as well, and also every job field in the police officer realm. I've got a lot of people we're going to have on that do different things in law enforcement. We're going to be highlighting this. And just to make it very clear, I know a lot of the law enforcement people out there do not consider correctional officers as law enforcement personnel. I do, and they are welcome on here as well. I have a lot of guests lined out. But if you're in one of these groups, also going to be interviewing reformed criminals, because that's the title of the podcast: Cops, Criminals, Commandos. So all three of those groups are equally as important, and they will be welcome for interviews on this podcast. So if you are in one of those groups and you're interested on coming on, we are booked up for a little while. But you can email me at znation111@gmail.com. Same one, ZEEnation111@gmail.com. So hit me with the email with those stories. And if you are a cop, reformed criminal, or a military personnel that would like to come on the podcast and tell us your story, because we are interested, I promise you. So the next thing is I wanted to talk about this case that's going on, the Ahmaud Arbery case. I couldn't wait to talk about this because it's a very popular case going on right now, and it just hit me, and I've got a take on this. No, I haven't read the whole thing. I haven't read the whole article, but I mean, I have read the whole article, but I don't know all the little details of whether this Ahmaud guy was actually running from a crime scene or what he was doing. But I don't really care what he was doing, to be honest with you. That's my take on this, is like, I don't really care what he was doing. I don't care if he was running from the scene of a crime. At that moment, he was not posing. Let me go back. Okay, let's stop real quick. I'm going to go back and tell you what happened. So, there's a case where this Gregory McMichael, who's 64 years old, he's the dad in this case and happens to be a white guy. And then Travis McMichael, who is Gregory McMichael's son. Travis is 34 and the son of Gregory McMichael. And they were together. And then this Ahmaud Arbery, who was a younger guy, was running down the road. And then these Gregory and Travis tried to stop this Ahmaud Arbery guy. And then when he didn't stop, apparently there was a scuffle with a shotgun. Travis was trying to get a shotgun, and then Ahmaud was trying to get the shotgun from Travis or something like that. Don't quote me on all this. And then Travis shot Ahmaud, and now Ahmaud's dead. So my take on this, and also Gregory McMichael is a retired police officer. And so my whole take on this is, I don't care if he had just spray painted somebody else's entire building. Okay. I don't care. What is this Gregory McMichael doing? First of all, you're 64, dude. You're 64. Calm down. You are retired. You are retired, dude. Be retired. Let the other police officers that are not retired do their job, because they probably could have came and got this situation under control and not had to kill this guy. You see what I'm saying? Stop. What are you doing, dude? Be retired. Hey, I'm out of the game too. You don't see me chasing people down the road and then ended up shooting them. What are you doing, man? Come on, be retired. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm in Walmart or somewhere of that nature, and somebody comes in there with a gun and they're starting to shoot people up and stuff like that, I'm gonna take action in there. I'm not gonna I'm not the type of person that can sit down and watch people die and screaming for help and stuff like that. And I can't let that happen. I'm gonna have to step in on that. I'm willing to die to make sure other people don't die. Still, that doesn't go away, even though you're out of the game, out of the law enforcement game. That doesn't go away. So I'm still willing to die for people if I think that I can help. And it doesn't matter if I think I can or not. Even if the guy has a gun and I don't, I'm coming. You better hope you shoot me quick, because I'm going to shove that gun up your butt if you don't. So either way, be retired, man. Please stop doing this. You guys got to stop doing this. You're giving law enforcement people a bad name. You're overzealous. You're jumping the gun here. You're being stupid, dude. You're being stupid. Look what you've done, Gregory. Look what you've done. You just killed a guy. Now you're in jail. You're going to be in jail for the rest of your life. Not only are you going to be in jail because of what you did, but your son's going to go to jail for the rest of his life too. Now what? For what? An unarmed black guy that was running down the road? I don't care what he did. I don't care. What you just did is you took a man away from his family. And you took yourself and your son away from yours because you're overzealous and you can't calm the hell down. Were you like this? Were you like this in law enforcement? I'd hope not. Goodness. I don't know if you had a good career or not. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know. Maybe you had a good career. I don't know. But all I know is you're in jail for the rest of your life. Your son's in jail for the rest of his life. And now Ahmad's dead because you couldn't just wait for the police to get there. Okay. So he might have got away. Okay. Even if he did commit a crime. I don't know if he did. I haven't been able to find anything whether this Ahmad guy had done something wrong. I can't find anything to see that. So I don't know. I don't know if he did. But even if he did, I don't care. Calm down. Be retired. I guess not now because you're going to be in jail. So my take on that is you deserve it, man. You deserve it. Let the cops be the cops. So anyway, now I'm going to introduce you to my producer B. Producer BEE. Yeah, oh, we're the same. I get it. I know, okay. Yeah, cheesy, corny. That's me. Hey, I'm corny. And I'm happy about it, okay? Get off me. Get off my butt, okay? I'm corny. I'm going to call Producer B. Couldn't be in studio right now because of the whole thingamaro going on in the world right now. Global pandemic. Can't show up. Stuff like that. So I'm going to call him and introduce him to you. He's an old friend of mine. He is current law enforcement. He's actually administrator of law enforcement right now. And so I'm going to call him and introduce you to him. And we're going to talk for a little bit. This podcast may go a little longer than normal podcasts, but it may not too. So most podcasts are going to be around, I don't know what they're going to be. I could throw a number out, but then I'd probably be lying to you. So let's call him real quick and see what he has to say.
Hello.
Producer B, you're live on Cops, Criminals, Commandos.
How are you, sir?
I'm not going to talk like that. I promise the whole time.
Yeah.
People are saying they're getting tired of my radio voice, but I like it.
Yeah.
So I was just telling the listeners that you are active law enforcement and you're administrator. Do you remember the first time we met?
I do.
Can you tell them what it was like?
Well, I remember driving out here from California, coming to a small town. I remember driving through some of the towns between I-40 and here, going, man, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
Some of those towns were bad, but wasn't as bad as the rest. Anyway, I remember sitting down and talking with you before I came out to interview. Sent a lot of my, previous schooling and employment to you. But I remember sitting down and talking with you and, you kind of explaining how things worked here. And I remember thinking this is where I wanted to start.
Yep. And for those who don't know, I was actually chief of police of a small town around here, and Producer B applied for the job, and I hired him, and now we call him the Angry Chihuahua.
That's correct.
So what was I gonna say? So you remember that, and then we've been friends ever since. So how many years of service do you have in now?
Just over 5.
Just over 5. Good Lord, time flies, huh?
It does. Yeah, it's gone quick.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to tell the listeners how excited I am to have you on. He's one of my best friends, Producer B is, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. And we've been talking about doing the podcast naked. doesn't want to. I'm catching some resistance from him right now. Oh, I just said your full name, but catching some resistance from you right now, but I think we should do it naked. I don't know.
Something to absolutely discuss, that's for sure.
Well, you're not going to be on camera anyway, so like you could just be naked to support me being naked on the podcast.
Right.
Okay, it's something to talk about either way. So I went over the layout of the podcast with the listeners, and so you're going to be here. We're going to get this thing rolling. So I want to ask you, what's the most scared you've ever been as a cop? Do you remember a specific time?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one to answer.
Have you been scared multiple times, or you don't remember?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that, having confidence is a good thing. I think that, depending on the situation, or, not letting the scared show. There's been several times that I have been. I don't know that I could come up with a specific one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, obviously situational, but I think that, it's harder to think about it after the fact, I think, because as you're going through it, you don't have time to, whatever the situation is, you don't have time to really deal with it then. It's something that kind of hits you after the fact once that situation's done.
Like I've been in situations before that you would think like a normal person would say, "Oh, that's where I would be the most scared," but I wasn't. Like I'll tell you a scenario like I've been in where guys have pointed guns at me before and put guns underneath my vest and tried to shoot me, but I was saved by my sergeant at the time. I've had guns pointed at me, and those aren't my scariest moments in law enforcement. I can remember the one time that I felt like I was the most scared, and it's whenever I had to clear an abandoned house, and the call was that there was an Indian guy inside this abandoned house, and he had a shotgun, and we had to go in there and get him out. Well, it was pitch dark, and this abandoned house didn't have any lights. And I remember me and my partner at the time had to go in there and get this guy out. And we had to use a technique called like spotlight or spotting. What's it called? Spotting, where you spot your flashlight. You can't have your flashlight on the whole time, because whenever you're clearing a building, you can't have your flashlight on the whole time, because that'll highlight yourself, and then the guy with the gun will see you better than you see them, and then they'll be able to kill you. And so you have to have your light off most of the time. And I remember being inside this house, and I was back to back with this guy, and I remember thinking in my head, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I was like, I don't think I want to be a cop anymore. I was like, I want to leave and get out of here because it's pitch dark. I'm spotlighting. I don't know where this guy's at, and he could pop up and just kill me at any moment. And that's the most scared I've ever been. I remember thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to pack up and frickin' leave and get out of here because this sucks balls. But the guy didn't even end up being in there. And that's how most scenarios go in law enforcement. The guy didn't end up being in there, period.
Right.
And so it ended up being, a good scenario. Obviously I'm still here, so everything turned out okay. But that was mine. You don't have any stories like that?
Man, not that I can think of. The one that I could give you is probably the first time I pulled my weapon on somebody. Those are moments where everything just slows down. Everything goes into slow motion, when you're in a situation where you think I might actually have to use my weapon.
Yeah.
and everything slows down, everything goes into slow motion. And you just pray that it doesn't go that far, I don't know, man. There's, the clearing houses. I think that's one of the things that, for those of us in small communities, we're not as fortunate as the larger departments that have, hundreds of officers that just take calls, and you've got, 20, 30, 40 officers that are working shift with you, and there's plenty of backup. For those of us in small towns, we learn how to be a solo crew. We learn how to deal with things on our own, and you end up in those situations where, the information that you've been given, somebody's in the house with a gun, we just learn how to deal with those situations on our own. It's not the safest, it's not the best practice, but those of us in small communities don't have any other option.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I still tell people this to this day, because I worked for a larger police department, and I was 10 times more safe at the larger police department, even though there was more stuff going on, more calls per service per day, always hooked up, always busy. I was 10 times more safe there than what I was when I worked for a smaller town police department, because at the bigger police department, we'd have 4 cops at a vandalism.
Right.
We'd have 4 cops at a vandalism, or 4 cops at a lady saying that the neighbor's dog peed in her yard or something. And so,
right.
But at the smaller police department, you're going by yourself to a shots fired call or a domestic assault and battery. You're not waiting. You got to go, and that's dangerous. You are not supposed to go to a domestic assault and battery by yourself. Bottom line.
Right.
And you have to do it all the time there.
Right. And that's absolutely the downfall, but just like anything, with smaller agencies, I also will flip the coin, working for a smaller agency, I feel like a lot of my opportunities are better. There's trainings that I've been to, classes that I've been to, opportunities that I've had that, 15-year officers don't have the option, because they work with a department that's got, 600, 700, 800 officers that just take calls, so there's opportunities that they don't get. Whereas at a smaller department, we have to learn to work everything. And I'll tell you, I worked a case a couple years ago, which led me to the city to do an interview with a victim. And I remember sitting there talking to that detective that was allowing us to use their facility in an interview room. And that detective was asking, who handles your dope cases? We do. Who handles your burglaries and your thefts? We do. Who handles your sexual assaults? We do. And so we learn a lot early on how to handle a little bit of everything, because we don't have the resources of the bigger towns. And that detective just couldn't understand, he was a burglary investigator. And he said, man, I couldn't work a dope case. I wouldn't know how. I couldn't work a sexual assault. I wouldn't know how.
Yeah. You're good at one thing whenever you're in the city. One thing.
Right. Yep. And they specialize in one thing. They don't get the option like us smaller town officers do to really kind of jump into a little bit of everything, because we have to know a little bit of everything. Obviously each one of us have our own specialties, something that we've taken the time to learn and get into, but we have to know a little bit of everything, because we don't have those resources.
What do you think your specialty is?
Child abuse and neglect and sexual assault.
Yeah. How did that find you? Or did you find it, or did you decide to do it, or did this just happen to you?
Well, a little bit of both. The chief said he wanted to send somebody, and he opened it up for everybody. We were all in a meeting. All of the officers were all in the same meeting, and he said, I think this is something that we need, and who wants it? And nobody said anything. And I'm one of those Training, it makes me better. It advances my career, but it also helps my department and my community. And so I volunteered for it. And, it was a couple months before we heard anything else about it, just waiting for the training to come up. And Chief sent a group message out to everybody, and he asked again, who wants this? And I let it sit for several hours to see if anybody would reply to it. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to work it. Who wants to work those cases?
No,
they're tough cases. And anyway, still nobody said anything. And so I said, I'll do it. And even when I got to the class, the day the class started, I thought, man, why did I do this? Going through most of the week, all of the week, I don't want to do this. Got out, caught my first case. Why am I doing this? But going through the case and, getting to the end and getting to the courtroom and getting that conviction on somebody who was guilty, and knowing that you've stopped that from happening to that person, that victim, you've helped that victim get some closure and some help. That's when I realized that those were the cases I wanted to work. Anybody can work, a burglary, anybody can work a theft or a vandalism, and obviously you treat all your investigations the same, but chances are, and this is my own opinion, but you find somebody's DeWalt drill that was taken from their house, a month or two down the road, they're not even going to remember you, but when you get that conviction, you get that bad guy in jail on a child abuse case or, juvenile sexual assault. Those people are going to remember you. They're going to remember that you helped them. I just did one, just finished one up, and I remember the victim tracking me down, and she said, thank you. She said, I don't have to worry about going outside anymore. I don't have to worry about, this person seeing me outside and trying to talk to me or seeing me in the store. I have some peace now, and I don't have to worry anymore. And that's why you work them.
Yeah.
It's not about the officer. It's not about, what makes us feel good at the end of the day. It's about helping that victim.
Yeah, exactly. And you brought up the reference to the DeWalt drill and stuff like that. But, if you don't get that DeWalt drill back for that guy or get the guy in jail that stole the drill, that guy's going to go buy a new drill. You know what I mean? And that when you're working that case. But, there's just so much pressure when it comes to those child sexual assault cases, because that victim, you have to solve that case. You have to, because that kid's future rides on it. Like if you put him in jail, you put that guy in jail that does that, then, or a gal, but it's mainly a guy. Mainly guys do that. But if you put that guy in jail, then those people may not have to move. They can stay in their own community. But if you don't get that guy in jail, they're going to have to move away, and they're going to have to uproot their life. And then also that kid or the victim is going to always have to worry that this guy's behind some corner fixing to get him, and get him all the time. They don't know where he's at. And there's just so much pressure goes into those cases. And I commend you for working those, because those are tough, dude. Those are tough for sure.
They are, and each one takes a little piece of you.
Yep.
But, the deal is, I have a lot of people that are still active in law enforcement that ask me, how do you work them? How do you work that case? And the deal is these cases aren't for everybody. Not everybody can work them. You just have to, work the investigation, leave the personal side out of it, do your job, do it to the best of your ability, and know that all the way around, we're there for everybody, but our job is to protect that victim.
Yeah. And I was just, I was thinking about this recently that, all you guys that I trained, you used to call me and ask me questions about, wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me questions and stuff like that. And it's been really cool watching you guys like go from calling me and asking me questions to calling me and telling me what you're doing, not asking me questions anymore, and just telling me what you're doing, and patting yourselves on the back, and hell, even teaching me some stuff, because hell, y'all are 10 times the cop that I ever was now, since I've been out, and you guys have been just stroking the learning department and getting it done. But like when I don't know if there's anything maybe to me just getting older or something, but when I was active in law enforcement and I was working cases like that, they didn't bother me at the time, except for the fact that I knew I had to I had a lot of pressure on me, But like as far as mentally getting to me, it didn't get to me. But when I got out, that's when it started getting me. And I don't know.
Right.
I think you need to be proactive in taking care of your mind, because I don't know what happened, but it got me when I got out for quite a while. It took me quite a long time to kind of figure out a way to not let that stuff bother me. Like, I don't know, we're going to have on the show, and he called me one day and was telling me about a case where a child had died and the parents were responsible for that. And while he was telling me, I had to get off the phone and cry. And I've never cried over something like that. I'm like, what is going on with me? I'm a big old weenie now, when it comes to this stuff. And I don't know, honestly, if I had to get back into law enforcement, I would. I'm still licensed for it and stuff like that. I could still do it if I wanted to, but I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could be an investigator. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I got it in me, And if that time ever came where I had to do that, I would have to be honest with myself, because you don't want to go in that position unless you know you can,
Right.
So I don't know.
And I think, we tend to, we see a lot of bad, that's what we deal with. We don't get to go and deal with, good things like, hey, I got my kid this bike. Can you help me put it together? Or, hey, we got this trampoline, can you come jump on it with my kid? Because they really like the cops,
Hey, don't give people ideas, dude. They will seriously start calling you and asking you that. Right.
And you're right. But man, that's what we're there for. And I tell people all the time,
absolutely.
Obviously each one of us gets into this profession for a reason. There's something that's happened that's driven us to this point, and I tell people a lot, even the people that I deal with all the time, the frequent flyers, they're a human being and they're entitled to mess up. We are no different because we wear that uniform or we drive that car or we have that badge, that gun. We are the same as they are. And I think that, through some of the things that I've recently been through, really getting to see, me practicing that and me treating people like that, hey, I may get in a fight with you today because you don't want to go to jail and you want to resist or whatever the situation is. But tomorrow when I see you, hey, Mr. Smith, how are you? Are you doing okay? Is there anything I can do for you? And I recently went through some medical stuff. In the response from the community, response from the people that I've taken to jail, people I've been in fights with, even those people reached out and said, I'm sorry you're going through this. And that's what it's all about.
Hey, dude, that's the thing, man. Like, the people on the streets, like the criminals, I guess you can say. And that's what I was talking about before I called you, is like, some of my favorite people are reformed criminals, and that's why we're going to be interviewing a reformed criminal, every now and then on the podcast. I was telling listeners we're going to have one interview a month, and it's either going to be a cop, a criminal, or a commando, and because it's the title of the podcast. I'm so cheesy, but I'm going to be interviewing those. And reformed criminals are some of the best people out there, dude. Criminals are just people out there that just are doing what they think is right, And those people, if you just show them respect, then they understand just as much as you do. You're not judging those people you're putting in jail. You're not judging them. You're just doing a job, and so are they. You know what I mean? And so you have mutual respect. It's a game of cat and mouse. I may get you today and you may get me tomorrow, but there's a mutual respect there. And at the end of the day, we're just people. We're just people that's playing this little game or doing a job. It's not a game, definitely, but we're doing this job, and we can have a mutual respect for each other.
Right. And you're exactly right. And I think that when you're talking with people and you're dealing with people, when you explain that to them and you treat them like that, you're giving them a better understanding, of what we do. Like I said, with recent medical stuff, man, it blew me away. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect those phone calls and those text messages and Facebook messages from those people that I've dealt with 100 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you.
We're not going to go into your, cause this is just an intro episode. So we're not going to go into your medical issues, and I'm not going to get too deep into interviewing you. And the reason is because you're going to be here. You're going to be here almost every week. So I'm just going to the audience will get to know you and me better throughout this whole process. So,
right.
But did deal with some pretty serious medical issues that we'll talk about later. So Alls I can tell you right now is that he's really short because of it. I'm just kidding. He was short before.
That's true.
I actually called him, when I met him, I told him he looked like Danny DeVito, and it just never stopped. He doesn't look like Danny DeVito though.
Oh, it's a little worse now. The hairline's a little worse.
Yeah. We call him the angry Chihuahua because, when I first hired, I thought, I don't know if this guy's going to make it because he doesn't have that, that drive, that mean drive in him. He was real timid, and I was like, oh no, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but you can't really tell that kind of stuff in the beginning. You got to give a person a chance and let them see. And I can't remember what we were doing, but I think we were booking somebody in, and they were starting to get rowdy, and I was just fixing to get in their hind end, and you blew past me and got him, and I was like, oh, what the heck is going on? And you started saying something to him, and I was like, okay, there he is. Okay, he's here. So
he showed up a little late to the party, but he's there.
Yeah, he's here, and then it just never stopped. Now you're just that old Chihuahua that doesn't like to be touched and likes to run around barking at people. But you'll bite too.
I will. The bite is meaner than the bark, that's for sure.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Okay, so we're almost at 45 minutes. I'm going to wrap this thing up. You guys will get plenty of opportunity to get to know. I've already called. We're just going to call you. Okay.
That works.
So, yep, everybody's going to get more than enough opportunity to get to know us too. And like I said, the goal of the podcast is to I want to show people the real side of the person side of the law enforcement people and our military people. I want to show people what you guys are really like. I want to show you the person that's behind the badge, not just the front that you have to put on when you're on duty, So that's our goal, and I think we can do that. So, but it was good talking to you, and I will I'll call you in a little bit.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
All right. Be safe.
Okay, we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for tuning in, and tune in every week. We're going to be posting either Sunday night or Monday every week, unless something crazy happens, but it's going to be Sunday night or Monday. Trust me, I will stay up 29 hours a day to make sure that happens. So thanks for tuning in to Cops, Criminals, and Commandos. We love you guys. We are out.